I was thinking the other day about privacy.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah. Like in our world, if I want a private conversation, I just, close a door. If I want to keep a secret, I just don't post it online. It's pretty simple.
Right.
But imagine a world where the very idea of a private life is basically a crime. A world where your walls are made of rice paper, your servants are paid to spy on you.
And your reputation isn't even really yours.
Exactly. It belongs to your ancestors, your parents, your great-great-grandchildren.
You're describing a very specific kind of pressure cooker. It's that feeling of being watched constantly, where one wrong move doesn't just ruin your day, it could literally end your entire lineage.
Exactly. And that is the vibe I'm getting from the book we're looking at today. It's called The Yangban Lord's Secret Geisha by the author Story Buddies Play.
Okay.
Now, normally when I pick up a romance, I'm looking for something kind of light, a misunderstanding at a coffee shop maybe, but this feels like high-stakes gambling with people's actual lives.
It is definitely not a coffee shop rom-com. We're talking about a story set in Joseon Korea, which is just a fascinating period for drama because the social rules were so incredibly rigid. The source material calls it historical romance, sure, but it also gets tagged as psychological, cultural heritage, and drama.
That psychological tag is what stopped me. I mean, historical romance, I get. You've got the costumes, the forbidden glances, all that. But psychological implies some serious mental stress.
Well, think about the world you just described. If you're living a double life in a society that demands absolute conformity, the stress isn't just about getting caught.
Right.
It's about the fracturing of your own identity. You have the face you show the world, the dutiful noble, and then the face you show your lover. And keeping those two separate, well, it takes a level of mental gymnastics that borders on paranoia.
So, okay, before we even get into the romance, we have to talk about the arena where this is all happening. The book promises a rich historical tapestry of Joseon Korea. But from the notes, it's not just pretty scenery. The setting feels like the villain.
I would argue the setting is the primary antagonist, yes.
Really?
In this era, society was built around Neo-Confucian ideals. Everything was about order, hierarchy, and duty. So you have the Yangban class at the very top.
Okay, hold on. Yangban. We should probably define that. It sounds important.
It is. The Yangban were the ruling class, the scholar officials. They weren't just rich. They were supposed to be the moral compass of the nation.
The moral compass.
They had to embody virtues like loyalty, filial piety, propriety. A Yangban lord couldn't just do whatever he wanted. In fact, he had less freedom than a commoner in many ways because his every move was scrutinized for moral failings.
So if I'm this Yangban lord in the book, I can't just sneak out to the movies.
You can't even sneeze without checking if it aligns with the classics. Exaggerating a bit, but not by much. The palaces mentioned in the source material, those are the centers of this rigid power. Beautiful, yes, but they're also cages.
And on the flip side of that, the book also mentions the markets in the countryside.
Right. And those, structurally, represent the escape. The markets are chaotic, they're noisy, full of common people. It's the one place where the rigid lines of the court might blur a little bit. It's a place you can get lost.
It's that classic contrast, the silence of the palace versus the noise of the street. But here's where I got a little stuck. The title is The Yangban Lord's Secret Geisha. Geisha is a Japanese term, right? We're in Korea.
That's a great question. It's likely a choice by the author, Story Buddies Play, to make the concept instantly accessible for a global audience. In the Korean context, the equivalent figure is the Gisang. And this is absolutely crucial to understanding the dynamic here.
How so?
Like the Geisha, the Gisang were highly trained artists and entertainers. They knew poetry, they played music, they were often incredibly well read.
So they were sophisticated.
Extremely. But, and this is the big but, socially, they were part of the Tianmin class. The lowest of the low.
Wait a minute. Lowest of the low.
They were, technically government property, owned by the state.
Hold on. So you're telling me you have a woman who is educated enough to debate philosophy with a lord?
Extremely well educated, yes.
But socially, she's considered property.
That is exactly the paradox. And that's why this pairing is so explosive. The Gisang were the only women who could freely mingle with Yangban men at parties and official functions. They were in the room, but not of the room. They existed in this strange limbo between high culture and low status.
That sets up a wild power dynamic. You have the lord, who has all the status but no freedom, And you have the geisha, who has no status, but, well, does she have freedom?
She has a kind of mobility, yeah. She can move through spaces that noble women couldn't dream of, but she's also incredibly vulnerable. And the source material calls her the mysterious geisha and mentions a secret.
The secret geisha. It sounds like a spy novel.
It might as well be. In a psychological drama with political intrigue, a woman who can move between the elite and the streets is a dangerous asset. If she has a secret, maybe it's her lineage, maybe she's working for a rival faction, that makes her a threat to the Lord's stability.
So, okay, they fall in love, love against all odds, as the source puts it. But given what you just said about the Yangban being the moral compass,
Yeah.
this isn't just a scandal. This is, what, treason.
You could absolutely be framed that way, depending on the politics.
Yeah.
If a Yangban lord is seen neglecting his duties or shaming his family for a woman of the lowest class, his political enemies would weaponize that in a second.
How would they even weaponize that? Just say, oh, look, Lord Kim's in love.
Well, it's much worse. It's more like Lord Kim is morally bankrupt. He is controlled by his base desires. He is unfit to advise the king. And in that kind of court environment, that leads to impeachment, exile, or forced suicide.
Whoa. Okay, so when the book summary asks, will their love survive? The subtext is really, will they physically survive?
Precisely. The stakes are existential. This is where that political intrigue tag comes in heavy. It's not just about hiding from a disapproving dad. It's about hiding from a system that is designed to crush them to maintain order.
I want to go back to that psychological aspect, though. We talked about the stress of the double life, but just imagine the paranoia. You're in love with someone, but you can never, ever acknowledge them in public. You can never defend them.
And you have to wonder who knows. That's the killer. In the palaces, walls have ears. If a servant sees a look that lingers a second too long, if a note is intercepted, the psychological toll of constantly scanning your environment for threats is immense.
It changes the romance itself.
It has to. It's not just affection, it's a conspiracy.
But that would bond them too, right? That whole us against the world thing?
It does. There's a psychological concept. Well, basically, the heightened arousal from danger can be misattributed as attraction. When your heart is racing because you might get caught, it's very easy to confuse that with the heart-racing feeling of passion.
So is it love or is it adrenaline?
That's the question the reader has to grapple with, I think. The source mentions personal sacrifices, and that implies that to keep this going, they're giving up pieces of themselves. The Lord is compromising his honor. The geisha is risking her safety. At what point does that cost outweigh the benefit?
That's pretty grim. But also, I guess that's why we read these things. We want to see if they can beat the house.
We want to see the individual triumph over the collective. Joseon society was all about the collective. Your family, your king, your country. The individual didn't really matter. So for these two to choose each other is a radical act of rebellion.
It's saying my happiness matters more than 500 years of tradition.
Which is incredibly punk rock for a historical drama.
That really is.
And that's why the women's historical fiction category is interesting here too. Because usually history is written by the guys who made the rules. This story seems to be focusing on the emotional reality of living under those rules.
Speaking of how the story is told, I noticed something about the format in our notes. The page count is only about 90 pages.
I saw that. It's a novella.
Does that change how you approach it? Because, I mean, when I think historical epic, I'm thinking 800 pages, a glossary of names, and a map I have to keep flipping back to.
It changes everything. With only 90 pages, you don't have the luxury of a slow burn. You can't spend 3 chapters describing the embroidery on the Lord's hat.
Thank goodness.
Well, some people like the embroidery. But in a novella, the pacing has to be aggressive. It suggests the author, Story Buddies play, is focusing intensely on that core conflict. It's going to be scene, scene, scene. High tension, high emotion.
It's like a shot of espresso instead of a 4-course meal.
Exactly. It fits the drama category perfectly. Drama works well under compression. If you stretch will they get caught over 600 pages, the reader just gets exhausted. But over 90 pages, you're holding your breath the entire time.
It also feels very modern in a way. We live in a world of short attention spans, gaining knowledge quickly, like our listeners want. This book seems designed to give you that full historical immersion, the smells of the market, the silk of the palace, but without the 3-week time commitment.
It creates a very specific reading experience. It's intense. The emotional arcs have to be sharper. Those personal sacrifices have to hit harder and faster.
So when we see those vivid descriptions mentioned in the source, the customs, traditions, and daily life, the author has to be really efficient. They have to show us the world while the characters are, like, running for their lives.
Right. A description of a market stall isn't just about the food. It's about the crowd offering cover for a secret handoff. A description of a palace ceremony isn't just about the ritual. It's about the Lord feeling the weight of everyone staring at him while he tries not to look at the geisha performing in the corner.
Ah, that image just gives me chills. Being in the same room, maybe 10 feet apart, and having to act like complete strangers.
It's the ultimate test of self-control. And for the geisha, it's even more complex. She is performing. Her entire job is to be charming, to be alluring, but to everyone. The Lord has to watch her smile at other men, pour drinks for his rivals, and he can't say a single word.
Oh, wow. I didn't even think about that jealousy angle. That adds a whole other layer to the psychological stress. He owns the world, but he can't claim her.
And she, in a sense, belongs to the world, but chooses him. It's a mess, a beautiful, tragic mess.
We keep talking about how rigid this society is, Joseon Korea, but why does this still resonate now? I mean, I don't have to worry about the king exiling me if I date the wrong person.
But you.
Well, not the king. Maybe my mom.
Exactly. The scale is different, but the dynamic is universal. We all navigate cultural expectations. We all have moments where we feel torn between what we should do for our career, our family, our reputation, and what we really want to do.
The classic duty versus desire.
It's the human condition. We're social animals, so we crave acceptance and order. But we're also individuals with our own passions. Those two things are always at war. Stories like this one just turn the volume up to 11. They take that internal conflict we all feel and externalize it into life or death stakes.
It validates our own struggles, doesn't it? It makes you feel like, okay, if they can face down the entire Joseon court, I can probably handle telling my parents I don't want to go to law school.
That's a very apt comparison. It's about courage, the courage to define your own life against the script that was written for you before you were even born.
And there's something so tantalizing about the secret itself. We talked about the danger, but let's be real, secrets are seductive.
They are. A secret creates a private world that only two people inhabit. In a society where everything is public, where the palace owns you, having a secret is a way of reclaiming ownership of yourself.
It's an act of defiance.
It's saying, this one thing is mine. You can't see it. You can't touch it. It is the ultimate rebellion.
So what we have here is a fast-paced novella, a pressure cooker setting, a forbidden romance, and a psychological thriller all wrapped into one. It sounds like the Yangban Lord's Secret Geisha is punching way above its weight class for a 90-page book.
It certainly seems to be aiming for maximum impact. And for readers interested in Asian American fiction or cultural heritage, it's an interesting way to engage with history. It's not dry facts, it's history felt through the pulse.
Before we wrap this up, I want to leave our listeners with something to chew on. We've talked a lot about the survival of their love. Will it survive is the tagline. But I want to ask a slightly darker question.
Go on.
Let's say they win. Let's say they escape the palace, run away to the countryside, or the rules change. They get to be together out in the open. No more secrets, no more danger. Does the love last?
That is the cynical but necessary question.
No, I'm serious. We just said the secret and the adrenaline is what bonds them. If you take away the forbidden part, are they just two very different people with nothing in common? He's a scholar who quotes Confucius. She's an artist who has seen the gritty side of life. Do they actually have anything to talk about over breakfast?
You're asking if that rigid class structure is the only thing holding them together by pushing them together.
Exactly. Is the obstacle the whole point?
It's a distinct possibility. When you remove that external pressure, the internal fractures often start to show. If the secret is the fuel, then winning the game might actually extinguish the fire.
Which would be the ultimate tragedy, wouldn't it? They burned down their entire lives to be together, only to realize they liked the chase more than the catch.
That is a very psychological twist to consider.
Yeah.
It forces you to ask, are you in love with the person, or are you in love with the rebellion?
I think that's a question a lot of us could ask ourselves, even without the Joseon robes.
Indeed. It's always safer to blame the world for our problems. It's much harder to face the reality of a relationship when the world finally stops watching.
Well, on that cheerful note, whether they make it or not, it sounds like a ride worth taking. The Yangban Lord's Secret Geisha by Story Buddies Play. Check it out if you want to feel the walls closing in.
And remember, history is often made by the people who break the rules, but they usually pay a very high price for it.
Always a pleasure to dig into the past with you. Thanks for helping us navigate all the intrigue.
My pleasure.
And to all of you, keep reading, keep questioning, and maybe keep your secrets to yourself. We'll catch you on the next deep dive. Bye.